Okay. So, functional web development with GitHub, Heroku and Clojure. When I was invited for the talk to show up at this conference, you know, for me, I've got so many questions, so many answers, so many, you know, concerns that I couldn't pick the topic to present for the conference. But since I'm mostly interested in functional programming languages lately, I had no doubts to pick my favorite one, which is functional web development with functional programming language, which is Clojure. But since programming language itself alone is not enough to show up to the public, I decided to use GitHub as the system or code management repository and some other social-like stuff, plus Heroku to deploy my application to have this application available to the public. So that's the trio I'm gonna discuss today or present. And to be honest, I'm not good at speaking about this platform, this configuration, because I'm quite new to this configuration, to this combination of GitHub, Heroku, and Clojure. I've just started playing with this platform. I've just started learning functional programming language, which is Clojure. So this talk is not about, it's not gonna be a deep dive into how to program functionally, how to use these platforms effectively. It's more like a summary of what I did or what I've been doing recently, and it's just a wrap-up of, you know, about my past experiences and a kind of introduction to what I'm about to do next. And since I switched my mind to learn Scala, you know, I'm now a little bit anxious to be productive with Clojure because of, you know, of Scala differences. But anyway, so functional web development with GitHub, Heroku, and Clojure. Who is using functional programming language for web development? Oh, what language is it? Scala. Is Scala a functional programming language? It is. Okay, good. Good point. Are there any other languages? Scala, Haskell. Good. And are you productive? For fun. Okay. Yeah, that's for me. I'm not paid for doing any web development, any development with functional programming language, any, at all. I work for IBM, and I'm responsible for IBM WebSphere. So I'm, you know, discussing with clients why they need WebSphere rather than other application server, competitive application server. So this is mostly for fun, because I've got plenty of time, plenty of free time. So, you know, just to bury it. So I figured out I can learn something new. Okay, don't forget a picture. Yeah, just for my blog. That's always like this. I always forget it. So I created. Okay, got it. Thank you. So this talk is only about sharing my experiences about the platform, the combination of different platforms, social platform GitHub with Git, which I'm not good at either, Heroku as the cloud platform, and Clojure as a programming language. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more, just some you know, sharing my experiences. And some of you might find it pretty easy to understand, and you know, you might be wondering why I devote entire presentation for the topic. But for me, it was amazing to learn something new, to be on another platform, completely, you know, it was complete departure from what I used to use, which was Java EE application servers, and all the stuff. So you know, when I started learning Clojure, it was like, wow, people can use it and can earn some money developing, you know, products. Wow, that's amazing. So let me try it. Let me try something completely new. That was my intent. That was my goal, and that's the goal of the presentation. So that's the playground. GitHub as the place to store your source code, plus some social-like activities, like following other developers who you wanna become one in the future. Heroku as the platform to host your application, because what else could I use? I could pay for other hosting service, but since I couldn't figure out which platform should I pick, I picked Heroku. Why? Because that was the only, at the time, that was the only platform that supported Clojure natively. So all I had to do was to deploy meaning commit my changes to Git repository and have this application up and running. That's it. I didn't have to tweak anything. It just worked perfectly. So I picked Heroku, nothing else, just because of Clojure support, and Clojure because Heroku supported it. No, it would be a cyclic. So no. So Clojure, because this was my first exposure to this functional programming paradigm, and since I've been working with Java for the past 15 years, I thought, well, let's try something new. Let's have some fun. So let's see what people see or perceive as valuable in Clojure. So let's pick this language as the first functional programming language. That's it, nothing else. Why not Scala? Well, because Scala was not that heavy to learn. Well, it is heavy because type system and all the stuff. But to me, Scala, comparing to Java, was like C++ to C. You could code in Java and still claim it's Scala, or use Scala tools and still be in Java kind of thinking. So I needed something else, complete departure from what I learned. So that's the reason I picked Clojure. And since Clojure is the language on the JVM, it was quite easy to use some libraries functionally, and it was fun. So I keep repeating it, and I'm gonna do it throughout the entire presentation. I insisted on spending time on learning and having fun. So much fun that I needed it for every activity I could do in my free time. So I pick Clojure, pick Heroku. I've never played with this configuration. So that was my goal. Okay, so what is GitHub? Who is on GitHub? Good. So I'd be better off asking the other question. Who is not on GitHub? Okay, and now the question is, why? Why aren't you on GitHub? Have you heard about GitHub? Yep. So why didn't you pick it as the platform for sharing your code? What else did you pick? Or what else could I pick? Could have picked? Okay, GitHub, yeah, Bitbucket. But Bitbucket was, at the moment I picked GitHub, that was the only platform I could improve my Git skills. And I don't know why I picked Git, but since Git was Git at the time, it was almost 3 or 4 years ago, I said, okay, there is no other choice than GitHub, so I started learning GitHub. That's it, nothing else. I was on Bitbucket, but Bitbucket was only about Mercurial, and Mercurial was heavy at the time for me. Although GitHub and Mercurial share the same, same ideas, I saw or I perceived Git as much easier to learn than Mercurial. So GitHub is the platform to share the code. Why I needed the platform? Because every time I spoke or I talked to programmers, I tend to speak to programmers often. I was asked, "Do you code?" And I said, "Well, not that much." How can you discuss programming problems if you don't program? Well, I say, I can understand problems you are suffering with, or you are facing, but still you don't code. So I said, okay, I need a platform to showcase myself or show off myself. So I said, GitHub is the platform. It's like Facebook, but Facebook 10 years ago. So if you are on Facebook, you are Git. If you use Git, you are Git, doubled. If you are on GitHub, you are Gitter, even more. So it was that kind of thinking. Nothing else. It was just to show off. So I started learning GitHub, and I learned new features that I didn't pick at the time I picked this platform. So I can't say if it's better or worse than Bitbucket or any other platform. But, you know, I pick it, and I stayed with this. So, and I stayed with this platform, and I like it. I enjoyed every moment with this platform. And every time I learn something new, it's like, wow. It's like Facebook. But since I'm not at Facebook, I'm glad I'm on GitHub. So this is my profile. And believe me or not, I was so glad when people favorite my project. It was in Clojure, and I believe everybody can understand Clojure except me. And it was like, you know, I had terrible experience with, you know, while learning Clojure. So I said, wow, people like it. So it was like, they like it, I like it, they like it. So I did more. It was like, you know, never-ending story. So the more they like it, the more I was grateful they like it, they did it. So it improved my learning skills exponentially. So I needed a way to influence my time, or not me, to spend my time effectively, and that was the tool to do it effectively. So this is my GitHub, and look at this, 30 followers. Not that much, or not that many, but still. Okay, there are people who like my job, what I do. So it was like, wow. So I need to keep improving so they don't fly away, rather than I need them so they ask questions, they send pull requests and all the stuff. So I can learn with them, learn with people who I wouldn't have known if I had not been on this platform. So that was quite an achievement for me. Wow, that was wow. Okay, then Librarian-Clojure. It's the only project I'm developing in Clojure, and since I'm quite new to this language, to this platform, I was quite surprised to see that there are, you know, 12 people who like it and who favorite it. So it was like, wow, I need to improve myself just to show off even more often, just to improve my skills. That's it. Nothing else. I didn't bother how many people, you know, favorite it or not, but once they favorite it, I like it. That was just a kind of a proof to say that I'm on a way to be good enough, in Clojure, in functional programming language. So, and my contributions, well, I'm suffering from other activities. So I had to keys my activities on GitHub for Scala, and now I'm studying Scala because I noticed that people aren't that keen on learning Clojure in Poland. Since I live in Poland and I speak in Poland mostly, I figured out that I'll learn Scala, so I convert people to learn Clojure. But since Scala is good at functional programming, it's good at functional programming as well. You know, I didn't waste my time. So it was my plan to convert some Java devs to functional programming language. But since they more keen on learning Scala, I left Clojure for a moment and started learning Scala. So for the moment, Clojure is far away from my daily activities. Okay, so how to Git? You know it. You just register for GitHub. You just sign up to GitHub. You just set up your Git repository, and that's it. You start coding. So if you are good enough, you can code every day, every moment in your spare time, and show how good you are. And the reason I'm telling it is that instead of sending CVs to your future employers, show how good you are on the platform. If you are good enough to convince me to hire you, show me your code. Some people say, show me the code, and I'll tell you how good you are, how good at programming you are. So that's my motto, and since I'm not paid at programming, I try to see how good I am at programming, and that's the only reason I'm on GitHub. Okay, so and that's not about me to show my programming skills. It's also about improving my skills by following others. So instead of following people on Facebook, I'd rather spend my time on following people on GitHub. And I selected my group of people I follow very selectively, and I know that whenever they commit something, it's something brilliant. It's like, wow, that's something I could have developed, but I didn't because I didn't have much time, or I wasn't reading books I should have, something like this. So I needed some mentors, and I found the place I could find my mentors, GitHub. So I've got some projects. Well, obviously I've got 11 days ago I subscribed to hear what's new in Scala, but it's more to show how good I'm following rather than I'm not. Well, that's an exception, not a rule, I'd say. Okay, and there are some unread changes I didn't pick yet, and as you can see, there are almost 900 changes I didn't reviewed. I didn't review. So it's like this. Once I delve into Scala, I lost track on what's going on GitHub for a moment. I'm gonna catch up soon, once I absorb enough Scala knowledge and can compare Scala to F# and Clojure. Yeah, and this is the project I'm developing, and what I'm proud of is that there were two other people who joined the project and developed some part of this application. This is a web application entirely developed in Clojure. I'm not gonna discuss what features of Clojure we've been using, but you can download it, you can compare to what you could have done or what you did, and that's it, and send me your comments. That's the only reason I publish my code. So whenever you ask me how good I am at programming, I can say, now I don't need to prove anything. Just go to GitHub and check it out yourself. So contributions, commit activities, code frequency, punch cards, you know it. But I just found it quite recently, and it was fun to see all the graphs, all the changes I applied to the project, and it was like a competition. So whenever Konrad, the other developer, or committed something, it was like, or pushed something to the repo, it was like, oh no, I'm gonna be the best. So I'm gonna change something simple, something small, but I need to spend my time on it. So I'm gonna improve the project. That's it. So it was like an internal or small competition between other programmers, and we like it. That was the only reason to pick GitHub in the first place, and that's the only reason I'm sticking with the platform. And as you can see, I'm the best in this three-person project, which is quite an achievement because they are good, but because they don't have much time to spend on this project, I'm better, and I'm proud of it. Okay, and they know it. So they tried very hard, but they failed. But they tried. So okay, Heroku. So once I developed my platform, my application, I needed a platform so people can go to this application, to this platform, and see how this application looks like. It was like, saying it's good without showing the product. It's like selling something without showing it. So I needed a platform to deploy my Clojure web application. So I picked Heroku. Do you know Heroku? Is there anyone who didn't hear about Heroku? Oh, good. Why so? Okay. Perhaps there are other cloud platforms you selected, but Heroku is a platform as a service, or at least I see it as a platform as a service. So I don't have to worry about infrastructure. I'm not DevOps. If I understood this term correctly, I don't want to waste my time administering servers. I don't want to waste my time configuring patches, application servers, whatever. I just need to deploy my application and have it up and running constantly. Or at least at the moment, my friends want to see what I developed. So Heroku is the answer, one of the many. But for me, it's the answer. There are other cloud beasts and perhaps there are plenty of similar platforms, but since I picked Heroku as the platform for my Clojure development, I'm gonna stick to it for a moment, perhaps for a longer moment. So it's just that simple as GitHub. You just click, you wanna have a server, you wanna have a server for your Clojure application. There is this Git repository. So whenever you commit something, you push a change to this Git repo, your application will get deployed. That's that simple. So learning GitHub and Heroku was also a way to learn Git. Because I needed more exposure to Git, so I said, okay, Git is the way to Git is the source code management system, and since Heroku and GitHub support it, I picked them rather than other platforms. Perhaps there are other platforms who support this configuration as well, but this is my legacy configuration. So Librarian-Clojure, I deploy my application. I've got one, they call it dyno. So I've got one dyno for my Clojure web application, and that's it. That's enough for my needs. And whenever I push my commits or changes to this Heroku-based Git repo, my application is up and running instantly, or in minutes. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to be good at this more than some clicks to configure the application. Are there any questions? Yeah. Yes. Good point. Thank you. And yeah, why did I pick Heroku and GitHub? Because they are free. At no charge. I don't have to pay for this. Well, if I need more capacity, I would pay for it. I would have to pay for this. But since I'm developing this application for my own needs, and I don't need more, just one dyno is enough. So it's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. The only cost is, what could be the cost? No, your time. Yes, that's the most precious and the most valuable asset you've got. So it's up to you what you are going to pick as your platform, so you can spend your time on or with. So I picked Heroku just by accident. Well, it wasn't more than it supported Clojure, and since I was into Clojure, it was like, okay, I'm gonna use Heroku. And moreover, after a while, I realized that Phil, the guy behind Leiningen, works for Heroku. It was just a proof that I picked right, because now I've got the support from Phil, from Leiningen, and all the build management stuff built in into Heroku. So Leiningen is the build management tool, just like Maven, just like Gradle, just like Ant. It was just additional proof that I should stick to the platform. Okay, and this is the activity. The last activity on Heroku is 4 months ago. So I shouldn't show this slide, but I'm more now into Scala. That's the only reason I stayed away from Heroku and Clojure. This is just for a moment. Okay, Clojure. Who didn't hear about Clojure? Good. So the more question I ask, the more hands I see in raised. So good. So Clojure is a programming language. It's a functional programming language. It's another language on the JVM. Why did I insist on being on JVM? Because I knew JVM quite enough, so I'm pretty confident what I can do with in Clojure, in Scala, or any JVM-based language. That's the reason why I didn't pick F# as the main programming language to learn functional paradigm, because it was complete departure from what I used to use. So F# is still nearby, but the main two languages, functional languages I'm learning now, are Scala and Clojure. So Clojure was the first functional programming language I decided to learn. I decided to spend my time on and grasp the concept of functional paradigm. Scala was different at the time. It wasn't announced as a functional programming language. Perhaps I didn't hear it. So that's the reason I picked Clojure, and I'm happy with the decision, because Clojure is different, totally different than Java. The only similarity between Clojure and Java is that they are both based upon JVM. That's it. Scala, if you know Java, you can code in Scala pretty easily. You can, just like comparing C and C++. In Clojure, you need to forget about almost everything about Java, what you learned about Java. I'm comparing to Java because I know Java, and I spent 15 years working with Java. That's the only reason. So if you didn't develop in Java, shame on you. So that was the very first functional programming language. Pure functions. Wow, that was like, what? No state? Oh, damn it. How can I program anything useful? It was like, wow, pure. It's like Haskell. Every time I heard Haskell, it was like a magic. It was like, I'm not able to understand the concept, because monads, functors, and all the gory stuff behind Haskell was like, no, I'm not gonna touch it, because it blows my mind. I lose my mind, and anything that might be considered harmful. So I picked Clojure because it was much safer. I was on JVM. It was just a library, so I could mix in some way Clojure and Java, but for me it was like I needed to learn something completely new to Java. Completely, but with some flavor of Java, JVM. So pure functions, no side effects. So no side effects means the only function your function does, or the only functions your function offers to the public is what you pass to the function, and that the function will manipulate it and return something new. That's it. No system out. No saving your interim changes to some variables. No variables. Everything is fixed. Everything is a value. So, would you imagine that 5 might ever change? Could you imagine it? Could you imagine that your 5 is no longer 5 after 3 or 5 lines later? No, it's impossible. Could you imagine that your string in Java, perhaps in other languages as well, could turn into different string? No, definitely not. So there are some parts of Java, the language, where you accept pure functions or pure-like behavior or pure behavior, while you couldn't accept it for the entire programming environment. So for me, it was like, wow. And I like it. And I like it even more when people ask me questions like, could you code anything in this bizarre language? It's weird. How could you program anything without side effects? How could you print something to the console? How could you save something to a file? Is it doable in Clojure? And I say, yes. How is so? That was damaging. That was damaging, and I could see their faces. So I like it. I like it because I could crunch them. I could damage their beliefs, but not for the purpose of damaging their brains. It was enlightening, and it was like well, let me say it. It was a kind of an enlightenment where I saw their faces and they were melted down a little, slowly but gradually. It was like, wow, I really don't know what programming is all about. It was like, yeah, you don't know. But I'm gonna know. And it was like this. It was like a small competition with my friends. So, because I like it. I like this way, to learn something new. Just a kind of a competition. So, immutable data structures. Hey, every change creates another data structure. That's weird, isn't it? Yeah. But if I tell you that you can structurally share your data structures, it means that you don't have to create entire data structure. You just link to some nodes, to some part of the structure, and be done with your creation of new data structure. Where it helps in, where could it be helpful? It helps in multi-threaded programming. So whenever you code with multiple threads, you need to ensure that your data structures are in sync or are safe, are thread safe. In Clojure, it's by default. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about keeping track of all the references, all the data structures. It's by design. So that was something quite new. And at first I was scared, but after a while I got used to it. I got used to thinking that functional programming language might be useful. And expressions, no statements. Really, no statements, only expressions. So every line has a value, every. So if ifs are not expressions in your language, well, you should change your language. Because with expressions everywhere, you can pass anything to your functions and expect anything in exchange, meaning that you can pass functions, return functions, compose functions, everything you learned during your math classes. That's pretty easy, but somehow we absorbed so many object orientations that we can't understand function composition. It was like me, when I talked to some functional developers, they told me, why do you need object orientations or object-oriented programming language? And I said, everything I'm doing, everything I see is object, or is a kind of an object. So you are an object, you are an object, we are of type human, and stuff like this. There is a inheritance, polymorphism, blah, blah, blah. But they say, you don't need it. How is so? Can I develop anything without object orientation? Yes, you do. You can. But I'm not going to show it how to do it, because this is not a talk about Clojure. So why Clojure? Learn a new programming language every year. It's probably impossible for many of us, but some are lucky to have some spare cycles and can devote some time on learning new languages. And believe me, it's not only about programming languages. Have you ever thought about learning Chinese? Have you? Never. Okay, let me pick another language. What about Spanish? Why not? What about French? Why not? There are people who spend their time learning new languages. Why? Because they can absorb new cultural changes between their lives and other people's lives. That's amazing. When I was in China, I thought I would have gotten sick. I shouldn't touch anything because there are germs. There are everything is poisonous. It was like, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. When I was in Turkey, I was scared to show my hands naked because I thought there are different cultural aspects of wearing t-shirts rather than long sleeves shirts, that I was scared. I didn't know what would happen. I was in a constant shock that I'm still alive. It was like, I'm alive. Oh, that's good. Okay, let's do some work. But wait, am I wearing proper clothes? It was like this. So learning something new, it was entertaining, and it was amazing because I could understand why people are doing stuff they do for their lives, and I don't. It was like, why are they doing it, and I don't? So I like asking questions, and that was the reason I pick Clojure as another language, but it's also about Russian, about German, about Spanish, about any other language. I wish I could have time to spend time for learning. So yeah, so learn a new language every year. New idioms. Idioms are sexy. Whenever you speak English, I'm not yet at the level to use idioms effectively, but it's so much fun to speak fluently with idioms in English. So whenever you say something like grasp the concept, it's like, what? Learn it effectively to the point that you understand the gory details. What? Gory details? What the heck is this? It's like, you use terms that might not be understandable for many, but for some it's like learning to the queen. So it's not everybody can speak to the queen, but if you could, it's entertaining, it's amazing, it's enlightening, if I may say so. So new idioms. And these new idioms may influence your way of thinking with your current language. So that's the reason I picked Clojure, because it was a complete departure from Java, and it influenced how I perceive Java programs now. I see how many side effects I generate, and how I'm wasting so many objects only because I need something I could have done differently. So yeah, some languages are cool. I don't know if Clojure is cool, but still, there is a question. Perhaps it is. So let me try it. Let me see it yourself rather than ask other people to for their experiences. Fresh, undoubtedly. So without a doubt, Clojure was so fresh to me. So I was glad I picked it, just like with Scala, perhaps with Go and other languages. And there was Java interop available, so I was safe. I was on JVM. I could mix and match my programs between Java and Clojure. So when I see fit for functional paradigm, I picked Clojure. Since I'm not a developer, I'm not paid on a daily basis for developing applications. It's always it's easier to say I would do it. The reality is different, but still I know that I could implement some stuff of a system functionally using Clojure, because Clojure, after all, is just a small Java library. You can see Clojure as a library, just like other libraries use. More? You need more? Okay, so this is a brain. This is our brain, or something which I consider brain like mine. So I pick it from the internet, and some people say that we use only that small part of our brain. Hey, what happens to the other parts of our brain? It's like we are wasting it. But it's not that we are wasting it for learning stuff we don't need. We are wasting it for stuff we don't learn. So it's unused. So that small part of our brain is only used to learn throughout our life. So it's pretty small, isn't it? So I decided to expand this square to cover some other areas of my brain and see if Alzheimer wins or I'll win. So, and constant thinking shift helps prevent Alzheimer. So in some way, whatever you learn, it's good for you. So functional web development. Request is a map. It's that simple. And request processing. It's just it's changing a map into another map. Everybody knows what map is. So transforming a map from another map to another map is just that simple. It's just that simple as I told you. So you change a value or the value of a parameter, and that's it. But in Clojure, you see, this is functional request. Can you decipher it? So can you understand what this map holds or conveys? Can you? It's easy. So can you tell me what URL I used to get this request? Well, that's not enough. What about hostname? What about port? What about query params? Yes, you're right. HTTP, it's here. Localhost, it's here. And 8090, it's here. That's that simple. You need more? No, you don't. You don't need more. So think about it. If everything you manipulate are maps or map-like structures, life is easier for everybody. Or so I think. So functional response. How much time do I have? 5 minutes. Okay, good. Functional response. Can you understand this response? What's this? Yeah. But hey, what about this? So this is more important than this, right? So 200, everything is fine. So hello world, and that will look, that's the response is transformed into this page via a browser. So different representation, same data structure. That was amazing for me. It was like, wow, can I do it? Yes, you can. Can I do it free of charge? Yeah, sure, why not? It was like, okay, GitHub is good. Git is good. Git is Git. Clojure is Git. Perhaps sexy. And what else? Heroku. I can deploy my applications. Wow, that's good. That's the Librarian-Clojure. Could you figure out what language did I used to develop this application? No, you don't care about it. As an end user, you don't care what it is. If it's in PHP, Clojure, Java, whatever. But this is a proof that this is the proof of mine that you can develop pretty neat web applications in Clojure. And I've got some articles about developing web applications with Clojure and Ring and Hiccup on my wiki. Some are in Polish, some are in English. So I encourage you to visit this website. Questions?
Are there any questions?
Other? What do you mean? Did they ask any question?
Is there a time that you said you were programming Java for 15 years?
Yep.
And you are now programming something completely different? Do you happen to find that you program in Java and suddenly you are programming Clojure in Java?
In some sense, yes. I can see much influence of Clojure on my way of thinking about Java applications. So whenever I program something in Java, I say, well, it's a filter, it's a map, it's a reduce or fault left, all the functional functions. And it was like, well, why am I iterating through the list rather than processing it with higher level functions? So yes, and I suffer a lot. So I'm waiting for Java 8 to see lambdas, and just to ease my suffer, a little bit, so I can program in Java more effectively.
But can I continue?
Yeah, sure.
Just for a second. But you tell about things that are good, that you find something that should be or could be done better.
Yes.
But do you happen to find things like I don't know.
Could have been better in Clojure.
No. In that way that you are mixing these languages, that you start to like.
Yes, Hadoop. Hadoop. Have you heard about Hadoop?
No.
Okay, it's a MapReduce platform. Whatever it means, forget about it. It's just you receive, a storm of data, and you need to process it in seconds. So you divide this work on threads and process it, and then combine the results to create something usable for your business. So this is a MapReduce concept. So Hadoop offers it. So it's Java-based, but it's a good fit for functional programming. And whenever I see such paradigm or such way of thinking in a product, I ask, is there a way to use functional programming language? And I often hear, no. What a shame. So Hadoop and stuff like this.
So we are out of time. Thank you, Jacek. I think that he really likes competition. So you have to catch him in lobby and ask him more questions. Yeah?
Now?
No, in lobby after the talk.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.